That and we're live right now.
Oh my god.
I know. Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and I'm sitting on a couch with
Scott and Vince. Oh.
Oh no!
No! Start over.
We messed it up. Yeah. No, there's only one take here. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Warhammer Weekly. I am in Minnesota right now with these two guys. We just finished recording a Trapped Under Plastic. And then we, what else did we do?
We got some chicken from Machan.
That's right.
We looked at some magic cards.
We did. We went to the Source here, awesome game store, obviously. And now we're going to talk about some stuff. Yeah, we're going to talk about AoS 4. We're going to talk about all of that. I did bring up the little rumor engine here for us to all look at. There it is. There it is. Yes, this is Couch Hammer. We're obviously in Scott's studio. What do you call this? Do you call this your studio? Do you call it your office? What do you call it?
I think
your refuge?
Any name that I would give it is pretentious. So I just I went whole hog and I called it Miniacs Mausoleum.
Oh, okay, there you go. All right.
For the alliteration, you know.
We are in Miniacs Mausoleum. Yes, exactly. So
most possible pretentious name.
Yeah, I know, right? Just send it, you know.
Just go for it. Oh, we got some sparkling ice.
We do.
We're partying hard.
All three of us do.
Bro.
We should all have green aprons right now.
I know.
I only brought one. I'm sorry. I've got mine.
Shoot.
So we're going to talk about Death Wizards. There it is. Look at that. Boom. The new book is here. We're going to talk about that today a little bit. In the news section, we're going to talk about some AoS 4, of course, because that's all the hotness. It's a panoply of topics today.
A cornucopia of goodness.
Yeah. All right. So, yes, Ian Curtis, I will let anyone on. If they're in the room with me, generally you get to be on the show. It's that easy.
Just get here.
Getting on the show, it's just a matter of being in the physical location I am.
Yeah, when you push go.
When I push go live. Yeah, it's pretty much that easy. All right, so, okay, a rumor engine thing. That's a 40K thing, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you think so?
Metal box.
It has, like, real rivets.
It has real rivets, not like old-timey rivets. It's wearing some kind of metal helmet or headband.
Iron halo.
Got a little halo. He's got fingerless gloves.
Yeah, that's definitely a future.
Yeah, that's a very futuristic thing.
Yeah, they don't have those back in the day.
Right? Yeah, they didn't invent cutting the fingers off of your gloves until
that was a thing someone had to invent.
the future. Yeah.
I don't know, because it could be like not an Empire thing. What's the Empire called nowadays?
Cities of Sigmar.
Could it be a Sigmar thing, like a relic?
Sure, it could be. I guess cities could have discovered fingerless gloves. It's possible. It's in their technology wheelhouse.
Yeah, they already have a head in a box on a stick.
They do,
but that didn't appear to have the same rivets for the number of hours that I spent painting that. I would consider myself an expert.
You are an expert on miniature rivets.
Yes, I would say it kind of feels like one of those Looney Tune cartoons that they use the thing to make the TNT detonate.
Yeah, sure.
But inside the box is a head. That means XXX. You know, that's just bad.
Wait, so are you actually serious about those being futuristic rivets?
Yeah. You can definitely tell. They change. They use different. It's not a big deal. They use. I appreciate this right now that on camera, we're just seeing Scott's face.
He's looking closely.
They're just little bumps.
Yeah, that's just it. They use little bumps. They use different ZCAD files for rivets on old-timey stuff, on AoS stuff, than they do on 40K stuff.
Okay.
Because, I mean, it's just a ZCAD component that they're moving over there to put on.
Sure, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or whatever they use. I don't really know that they use ZCAD. Whatever they happen to use to sculpt.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. By the way, Asteroid TV, John has complimented your hoodie.
Thank you.
Your Costco wholesale hoodie.
Bro, $18.99.
What shocks me about it is that you went for do they have other colors?
No.
It's just white.
Just white. They have a black one that just says Kirkland's signature across.
Oh, you should have got that one. That's way cooler.
I got a T-shirt of that. So.
Okay. I mean, the problem is that that's white.
It's so obnoxious.
Your dog has black fur.
Yeah, I don't wear this. I wear this right before I leave the house.
Okay.
This is my dress-up hoodie. Okay.
Oh, all right. Wear something nice, like a Dan Marino journey.
The part of him wearing that hoodie that surprises you is the fact that it is a white hoodie, not the fact that it has Costco logos all over it.
Right. No, that's fine. I understand. Support the businesses that you patronize. You know, that's important.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So, let's talk about. I mean, there's some other new stuff going on, but we'll get into it. as we go through the show, because all of this is basically just news. This is at this point with AoS 4 coming, it's basically just an entire news show.
Okay.
The idea of breaking it into segments anymore is, silly. Okay, so hey, this last Friday, boom, new game from Uncle Ab and I. Deth Wizards released a game of necromantic skirmish combat. You two can be the bad guy. You get to play a necromancer of one of 6 different legacies, build your undead horde, conquer the land of Deth. It has both story, so that's solo, co-op, and skirmish versus play. It is a miniatures agnostic skirmish game. All sorts of sort of branching adventures and missions you can go on to do your evil deeds, fight heroes, raise those heroes from the dead as your own minion, build your horde, acquire unique powers, build out your lair, all that fun stuff. So many activities, really, that you can do.
So many necromantic activities.
So many necromantic activities. You'll find everything for this linked down below right after the show, and I remember to put the links there because I didn't do that before the show, but they will be there. But in the meantime, if you just want to go to deathwizardsgame.com, deathwizardsgame.com, you can pick everything up. Book PDF is $13. The PDF plus the book itself, the physical printed book, is $18. And then there is a supplementary card deck that you can get that has the minions, the lair, and the heroes you'll fight as an easy reference. They're not required, fully optional, but they're there for you as a game aid, also for $18. To head off that question before it is asked, yes, we are working on a PDF version of the cards as well. This was a big question we got. Yes, we're working on that, so we'll have news on that soon. But there you go. That's out now. Real excited about it. John, you got to play test a little Deth Wizards.
Yeah, let me just check before I give you my review. I just got to check the inside cover here real quick.
Sure, yeah, go take a look.
Make sure that... all right, yes, my name is in there. I thought it was great. I had a lot of fun. Sam and I, last VincyCon, got to do some alpha testing and some beta testing and some omega testing. We did all the Grecian testings.
Yes.
It was, we started off by fighting against each other, and I learned a lot about how the strategy on which type of necromancer you use and then which powers you pick with them. I could see how it really evolves over time. But what I was more surprised with is how much fun we had going co-op and trying to beat the AI. It was not so base level, boring AI. There was a lot more things that they were acting in ways that I was not necessarily prepared for.
Yes.
And it made us cooperate on the fly. So I would highly recommend it.
There you go. Now, Scott, you and I have not got a chance to play yet, but we're going to tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yes, on the live stream at twitch.tv/Miniac. We're going to play a game.
There you go.
What are we going to play? We're going to do a co-op one, a versus one, a solo
I thought
play?
we'd do a little co-op mission.
Okay.
You and I team up, and we'll go do some evil.
All right, hell yeah. I'll listen to that.
Absolutely. So check out Miniac's Twitch tomorrow for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. But, all in all, I saw some, people have been getting into it. We've got a Discord. You can join the Discord for all the Snarling Badger games through, if you just go to deathwizardsgame.com, you'll see the link up in I think it's at both the top left and the very bottom, but there's a Discord link. So you can go check that out and join up. I've seen a lot of people already making their hordes. That's super cool. So yeah, really excited. It's been fun. And put the initial sort of FAQ together for questions that people have had. No matter, one of the things that I think you have to learn when you make games is that there is no writing you can do that's going to be sort of perfect enough that people won't have questions. And I don't mean that in any negative way. That's just that's the nature of the human language, right? Like humans speaking words in any language is an inarticulate, imprecise method of communication. I can't beam or teleport my thoughts directly into your brain of what I intended. So that interface has some friction, and that's fine. So not too many questions, but it was good. All in all, also a thing to note, this is the first game we've done where there were actual figs we had sculpted. Each of the necromancers, we have a fig. We worked with Knucklebone miniatures, and you can find those on the website as well.
Ian Curtis has a question. Do the different necromancers feel different? I can tell you from the time I had playing it, they felt completely different.
Yeah.
There's different things that they are set up to do. There's one that is almost like a Dark Knight, a Shadow Knight. They are a Necromancer, but they get in there and wade into battle and do some nasty melee stuff. You can do stuff that you do a lot of buffing. You can do some Dark Wizard nuking. You can do some debuffing. There's a wide variety of different spells and how you want to customize them. So yes, they do feel greatly different. It didn't feel like it's 6 versions of the same dude. It feels like 6 distinct different wizards.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was part of the goal, to make sure that there was different play patterns there, different things people were going to be doing during the game. And importantly, it's funny, I cut it to 6, but I had so many ideas for what other ones could be. So, I don't know. Who knows what the future will hold.
Will you divulge any of those? What was your favorite cut wizard or a necromancer?
I'm not going to share any of them yet.
Okay, all right.
It's not here. But yes, I've got a few that there was one I cut that I really actually loved a lot, but I cut it for reasons of like the miniatures people would need for it. How about that? I'll say it that way, right?
Okay.
Like it would sort of, in my head, it would sort of have required people to have completely different miniatures than what they might otherwise have, and so it felt like not the right thing for the first set.
The sexy necromancer.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, see, I was picturing the Mummy, the movie The Mummy Necromancer, where he's made of scarabs and everything is forged of scarabs.
Sure.
Yeah, Imhotep, dude.
Dude, we're gonna get it out of him before this episode is over.
Somebody actually asked me, like, so the mummy in the book, because there is a mummy that you can take as one of your undead horde, and like the mummy basically has ability to turn into sand and like whip into just sort of cloth and wrapping and sand and just like teleport across the board, right?
Yeah.
And somebody was like, thought that was strange, and I was like, I don't know. I thought Brendan Fraser was pretty awesome. So,
what? Yeah.
Mummies teleport. I've seen the movie.
Yeah, they can swallow planes as giant sand
Yes,
versions of themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That one was a little outside of the scope of the game, since obviously your Necromancer can't fly a plane.
Sure.
But if he could, then I would have had to write that power in as well.
Everyone
obviously.
knows the 90s mummy movie is based on real facts about mummies, right? Obviously.
Exactly. Yes, that was like... That is a documentary filmed in real time. That is found footage from 95.
All right, yeah.
So this cleaned it up, upscaled it up to 4K or whatever. I don't know.
Let's talk about this movie for the rest of the episode.
Absolutely, this is just a review of Brendan Fraser's The Mummy. I walked out of that movie originally. I did not like how long the opening was. It has that initial opening
before they get really into the city.
The
of
Brendan Fraser part.
Oh,
Yes.
before he enters the screen. I agree.
Yeah, there's like that whole thing with the original, with Imhotep when he's still alive, and
That's cool though.
it is good, like scene setting, but man, it just felt like it went on forever the first time I watched it.
You were just like, show me Brendan.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Come on.
Where's my Encino Man when I need him?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So enough of that. Check out Deth Wizards. If any of you have any questions or anything about it, you can drop in the chat. We're watching the chat. And there you go. So we're happy to answer those as it comes up. But let's move on. Let's talk about some just general stuff here. Let's talk about AoS 4 a little bit, gentlemen. Okay.
Let's.
So I brought up the 3 faction focus articles that are most recent that we haven't talked about on the show yet. And I can kind of move around through those over time. Right now I've just got the Gits image up to really frame us discussing. But I want to get your general impression, sense right now. Where are you at? Excitement? I haven't got to talk to either of you really about AoS 4. So where's your hype level, your interest level, whatever. Because we got 2, I think, very different opinions than my own, or at least starting places than my own. How about that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Scott, I want you to go first.
I feel like I'm keeping myself at arm's distance a little bit with AoS. Everything that I've seen so far seems really great. I mean, I think that all the changes they're making are positive changes on the game, especially like from the usability standpoint. I think those are really good. But I feel like the game is still going to feel like it feels, I think, for the most part. I think maybe it's going to be easier to interact with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you thought anything? I'm gonna stick with you because I have a quick follow-on question.
Yeah.
Related to AoS 4, obviously, is the launch of Spearhead, right?
Yes.
So you're pre-constructed. You buy the box, you build the box, you paint the box, you play the box.
Love it.
That's the order they want. Obviously, it will actually be you buy the box, you build the box, you play the box.
You buy another box.
Theoretically, somewhere down the road, you paid part of the box, right? but that's fine. Whatever. So, have you seen anything on Spearhead stuff? Are you excited for the potential Spearhead? Does that feel like it's a way that would be good for you?
Yeah, I think so. I think you might feel bad about it if you look at what they did with the equivalent of that in 40K.
Yeah.
I feel like that didn't do so well for a lot of people. And part of my concern is, are they just going to take like the boxes for the factions that have existed forever and just make those Spearhead boxes?
Yes.
Or are they going to take like, you know, maybe like rebalance things, make it appropriate, change some of the units out, make it more playable?
So it's all just the boxes that have existed, but and this is something that's different than what they did with 40K, because I agree, Combat Patrol, is that what it was called?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
It didn't really work out how they wanted, but here's the cool thing. So let me give you an easy example. One of the Stormcast Spearhead boxes has Yndrasta, Annihilators, some Vindictors, I think, a dude with a flag, and
Dude with flag.
Man with flag.
Man with flag, and something else. Okay, like there's some other piece in there. Okay, so this is a very powerful Spearhead because like Yndrasta is a named character. She can fly. She hits like a Mack truck. All right, and so if they had just kind of like shipped that out and said like this is Spearhead played against the other ones, I don't think it would have worked very well. But one of the interesting things they did is for Spearheads like that, Yndrasta and the Annihilators, so the actual like monster, the monsters of the box. Everything else is just like dudes, people. Those two, they don't show up till the beginning of turn 3, and it's a 4-turn game.
Interesting.
So the Stormcast have to survive, and keep in mind this is all played on a Warcry board, so you're in it first turn if you want to be. Okay, like it's close. It's you start 12 inches away from the opponent. Okay.
Is that all Spearhead is played on that size of board?
Yep.
22 by 30?
22 by 30.
Okay.
That's right.
Interesting.
And so, like, it's fun because, like, as the Stormcast player, you have to, like, really play actually very carefully and try to survive and get as many points as you can before your reinforcements suddenly teleport in and then just start smashing face. But do they have enough time to actually, like, do everything they need to do?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's one side of the balance. The other thing they did is in some of them, it's full of more just like dinker-doos. Okay, I'll call it like, you know, there's boxes that just like, here's a big pile of little goblins or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, okay, great, thanks. You know, so with the little goblins, they automatically get like a reinforcements rule. I don't remember if that's what it's actually called or not. But what it mechanically does is when that unit dies, you just get to set up a new identical unit to it on the table in your starting area.
Okay.
So like, so you can see how they pushed on it from both sides, right?
Yeah.
Like they took the ones that were stronger, pushed them down, took the ones that were weaker, pushed them up. You know, they, according to them, they did a lot of play testing. I've played some Spearhead, not a ton so far, but I found it like really balanced in the ones that I went through.
Okay.
So
that sounds really good, actually. I wouldn't think that they would go to that extent where they're looking at the boxes and their makeup and then actually writing rules for Spearhead for that faction to make it balanced against everything else. That's super encouraging.
I agree. Yeah, thank you. Cygnus Maximus said yes. There was a chariot. That was the other thing in that box. It was a chariot. Yes, that's right. And that thing moves like 12 inches or something, so it can just be in combat right away if you want. Yeah, you're so close to the enemy. The first game of Spearhead I played, you know, like you can't shoot in combat anymore in AoS 4.
I heard that change. I love that. Yeah.
Unless your weapon has shoot in combat, which would be like pistols and flamer things and stuff like that, right? So like warp fire throwers or stuff like that will probably shoot in combat. Like we saw the Rat Ogre one does, but like a cannon or something like that wouldn't, right? So I played a Spearhead game where I was using the Skaven one that's like 3 Storm Fiends, a Warp Lightning Cannon, and then a bunch of Clan Rats and a character. And I didn't really think about how close we were. I just kind of set up, and then immediately my Storm Fiends got charged and none of them could shoot. And then my cannon got charged the next turn and it couldn't shoot. So I didn't shoot at all. And here's the crazy thing. Both my shooting units basically got chumped. They did okay still. Like the Storm Fiends can still fight in melee all right. But they got chumped. I fired the Warp Lightning Cannon like once. It did okay. But despite that, I still just like, I was like, okay, it just made me play. I was like, all right, I lost all my good units. Got to play the fundamentals only. All right, just do the objectives, play the fundamentals. And I ended up losing, but I lost by 1 point at the bottom of round 4. So like, it's not me saying, oh, I'm such a great player. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say like it felt still like because of the underdog mechanics and stuff like that as they would come up, I was actually able to catch up and stay and hang in the game until the very end.
And do you like that in a game, or are you of the mind where if you made a mistake as great as that, however you want to measure it, you should have lost the game?
Yeah.
Or what do you think? You did lose effectively.
I lost still.
Right,
Yeah. So, like, I think underdog mechanics are good. You just have to be careful with them. They can't be too heavy-handed.
Sure, absolutely.
Right? So, like, it needs to provide you with the right buff. And so it's very much a balancing act. That's my thought. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty excited about Spearhead. I think it's interesting because one of the ways that I've heard them talk about it is right now with AoS or most army games, you can only go deep. So what I mean, like, if you want to go wide, it's really hard. So, like, what I mean by going deep is you buy the army.
Right.
You have to paint the army.
Fully invest in that army.
Fully invest in that army. You got to go deep into it. And then really your choice, your most logical choice from then on, and we talked about this earlier, is just, like, keep buying stuff for that army, right? Like, as they release new boxes, you just keep painting, keep releasing stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas this Spearhead, because it's just, like, it's what's in the box and it'll never be anything more than what's in the box and that's it, it gives you the ability to go wide. So if, like, oh, I like Soul Blight, but I don't want a whole Soul Blight army, okay, cool, just buy that. You get to paint that amount of undead. You know exactly what you're signing up for now and forever, and you can go wide.
Mm-hmm.
So from that point of view, I think it's smart.
Yeah.
All right, Johnny, over to you. Where are you at with AoS 4?
Well, I think maybe like a fair number of the goody peepees out there. I fell off the cliff of Age of Sigmar with COVID. We had a hefty local group in not a very big city where we had about 20, 25 regular players, and COVID hit. We didn't have regular games anymore, and most of those people just kind of sputtered out, myself included. And I always kind of kept in with Age of Sigmar and with collecting and painting and buying the books and staying up to date with the rules, and I felt the rules creep. I think I was more aware of that getting away from playing on a regular basis than I was when I was knee deep in playing. I think maybe that was a part of that was just not getting the regular reps, but I could just start to see how things were just, there was so much fat to be trimmed on the game.
Yeah.
So this hits me in three great ways. Number one, I get to play Skaven finally. So I can start a new army and buy a bunch more models and build a bunch more models and then start another army. And so I get that. I get the total refresh of the rules with everything that I've read thus far feels like we're going in the right direction. You know, I need to read through the full rule set, play some games, and get my full kind of idea around it. But I'm very positive in my outlook. And number three, and I think this is probably the most important one, is that my local community has a lot of buzz. A lot of people are coming back out of the woodwork again. Because none of this matters if you don't have people to play with. Whether that's a couple of friends that are equally invested or a local community. This is the time where you're going to get a bunch of new players. And it's a great time for new players as well because we're all basically learning the rules for the first time again.
Yep.
And we get to start, especially with Spearhead, there's a way that you can learn the rules in a manageable way and then decide to build up if you want to and the community grows, or you can stick with that if it has a staying power. My brain, just the way that I find fun in games is my own customization, my own list tweaking, my own synergies and combos, and I like being able to like manipulate how I want to build my army and in the choices I make. So I see playing Spearhead. I don't foresee me sticking with that long term, even if it's great, just because it's not that part of the game that really scratches that itch for me.
Sure.
But I feel like it's a bonus, you know, and it's a new entry point where we can a bunch of us could just sit down and play a bunch of games to get our mind around the rules and not contribute 4 or 5 hours as we're slowly working through a 2,000-point game rules and learning them and rereading the pages and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's, from my experience, it's basically, an hour for a Spearhead game, less, I think, a little bit, if you really want to. But, if you really know what you're doing and it's kind of rolling.
Right.
Like, my first game was basically an hour-ish, sounds about right, and we went up until the bottom of the last turn. So, but some people finish faster than that. So, it just is less commitment of time, realistically, which is nice because A full AoS game it is a commitment in most cases.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about 2.5, 3 hours. Now maybe that'll change in 4.0. Maybe things will be quicker. I don't know. I don't have enough 4.0 games under my belt yet to say for sure. Got a little bit. I've played some. It's fun. I like it. I'm very excited. But I'm still like looking at things and referencing things and stuff like that. So I don't know that it's as efficient as it could be.
Is Vanguard a different, slightly more simplified rule set than AoS 4.0, or is it the same thing?
No, so Vanguard was the original name they had for those boxes, but they're all going to be renamed Spearhead.
I'm sorry. Is Spearhead a trimmed down version of the rule set?
Yes. It doesn't use all the different modules. So yes, absolutely. Like the way that they built 4.0 was modular. So like for example, there's a terrain set of rule. They're like one of the modules is terrain, one of the modules is command abilities, one of the modules is magic, and so on and so forth. So the full game uses all that crap, right? But the including battle tactics, much to my chagrin. But the Spearhead doesn't use any of those, basically. Now, you still have spells, okay? Like, if your Spearhead has a little wizard guy in it, right? Because some of them do. Like, the Tzeentch one, for example, has the Magister dude. So it's like a guy riding around on a disc who's like, magic.
Is that what he does?
Yeah. Fire. Yeah, it's that. That's all spells. That's magic. That's how you magic. At any rate, the way that works is it's just an ability. It's just an ability on their card. So it'll say like Flames of Tzeentch or something, right? And it'll be like roll 2d6. If you get a 6+, resolve the effect below, and the effect below is like D3 mortal wounds, right, or whatever.
Okay.
So you're still casting a spell. There's just no unbinding or any other things around. It's just you literally just do what it says in the ability.
Just a little nuke. Okay.
Right. And the command points, the way they work, this is actually, I think, one of my favorite things about Spearhead. So the command points, there's no like standard command abilities. So like all out attack, all out defense, all that stuff, that's all gone. I mean, that's in the full game, but it's not in Spearhead. Instead, what you have is you have a deck of 12 cards. And those 12 cards are both your battle tactics and your command abilities. Okay? So at the start of every round, you draw 3 off the top of the deck, blind, obviously, right? Like you're drawing off you know how to draw cards. You've drawn cards at some point in your life, yeah. And so you draw those and you lay them out, and like those 3, the top of every card is a battle tactic that you can do to score 1 point. Okay? So it'll be like control the Dracothian objective, because like each of the objectives that are the board that you're playing on, it's not just a standard war cry board, it has the objectives already on there. Okay. I mean, you could just mimic it with your own war cry board, but like if you get the one that's in the box, it has little printed things on it. And one of them has a little dragon head in the center, and that's the Dracothian objective, and one of them has a snake head, and that's the snaky objective, or whatever, I don't know. Snakothian, yeah, exactly. Then you have the Cowcothian, the Ottercothian, yeah, exactly. At any rate, so it'll say that, right? And then the bottom half of it will be a command ability, like, or something unusual, like heal a hero D6 health, okay? But you can only do one or the other. Does that make sense?
Is this only a Spearhead thing?
It's only a Spearhead thing.
Interesting.
It shouldn't be.
Yeah, no, it shouldn't be. That sounds really interesting, actually.
Doesn't it, though?
Yeah.
This has been, like, the subject of discussion on the show, is that, like, why did you invent this really awesome system?
Yeah.
Where, like, and by the way, I played it and it feels really dynamic, because there's a definite push and pull to, like, the abilities printed are usually really powerful, okay? Like, until the end of the turn, you don't suffer any penalty for rend or something. So you just, like, ignore all rend or whatever, right? Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But then you can't score that battle tactic. Or if you score the battle tactic, you can't use the ability. Now, sometimes it's easy because, like, you know, you got to get some battle tactics, and it'll be like, control the Dracothian objective, and you'll look down at the board, and your entire army is on the Dracothian objective by pure fluke of, you know, timing or where you were on the board or standing, right? So you're like, well, I'm not going to, I'll take that one. That's a freebie, right?
Okay.
And sometimes you'll look at him and be like, score the Dracothian objective, and your entire team is on the opposite side of the board, and the entire enemy army is on the Dracothian objective, and you're like, nope, flip, this is definitely the ability, right? I'm just going to use whatever this ability says I'm using it this turn.
Yeah.
But then that still generally leaves some mix. And so, like, you get 3, you try to score them over the course of the turn, and then at the start of every turn, you can choose to discard any number of cards and draw back up to 3.
Okay.
and there's only 12 cards in the deck, so like it's a knowable amount.
Yeah.
It feels
Okay.
very much like Underworlds.
Yes. So you can like know what's in the deck. So when your opponent draws the first 3, you will know what they are because they have the same deck of 12. You do, right? You're not drawing from the same deck, but you both have copies of the same deck.
You're right. That is like Underworlds. You draw cards that are your objectives for the turn.
Mhm.
Interesting. You know, I don't know how true this is, but one thing I really love about Dota is they have like a patch once a year, and that patch, not like one patch, but like a big patch where the game changes in a significant way. They make the map 30% larger. Every single hero has this new effect now that you have to pick from when you pick it on the screen. But the game changes in kind of a almost a fundamental way. And I'm curious, like with each release of the rule set of AoS, do they add on a component like this deck thing you're describing that changes the way the game is played in a somewhat fundamental way? Or do they do that more when they release an army? So like an army comes out, it has a new mechanic. Oh, now that mechanic is on the table for everything that comes after this army. How do they do it?
That's a good question. I think traditionally they've been a lot more in that model you're describing, where like they'll understand and explore some element of the design space when they're working on an army book, and then they'll kind of just shove it into every army from that point forward. And I really hate that, is my honest answer.
Yeah.
Because it makes armies feel not unique. It's like, no, you just thought of a clever thing to do here, and it doesn't have anything to actually do with this army, right? Magic is much better at this with sort of the color pie, which is what I've always pushed for, right? Like, that army should have personality, like distinct personality. So, like, what I hope they've done, and certainly I think they have to some degree, because this edition is indexed. You know what I mean? Like at the beginning of this edition, we're going to get PDFs of every army for your index, for all your units and scrolls, right? For both normal game and for Spearhead.
Yeah.
Okay, that'll all be free. We'll have all that. My hope is that they use that opportunity to really plot out the mechanics and functions and things, concepts that they wanted each army to explore. So it'll already be there in some form, and then whenever you get a book down the line, right, that just really explores that more.
Do you think that's going to happen?
Time will tell, man. I don't know. It's hard to say. I've been burned a lot. It's hard for me to ever be wholly positive about that. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, how about this? I hope it does.
Yeah, me too.
Is that a fair answer for you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Fair. You can't know you're in that crystal ball.
Exactly. Gleb said, me and my buddy got armies in 3rd edition and never made it to the table. Still painting and assembling. Guess 4th will suit as a start. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an easier one to start, so there you go. And let's see. Oh, yes, you mean Noobs corrected me. Yep, mortal damage. That's right. It's not mortal wounds, mortal damage. Okay, let's see. And then Devin Everhart says, in Death Wizard says that minions not involved in the mission are assumed to be guarding the lair and granting it bonuses when attacked. However, I can't find where it says how this works. Devin, it's in the back under assaulting lair assaults. So it's in the last section when you play multiple story missions and you get, then eventually the heroes get fed up with your nonsense of you like raiding towns and stealing their villagers and killing them, and the heroes come assault you in your lair. When that happens, the number of undead you have in your lair matter because they add to the defense of the thing. So that's where that is. Check it out. It's on like toward the end of the book. I'm gonna say like page 104 or 5, somewhere in that range.
Let's look it up.
You got to go to the very end, almost.
Oh.
Nope, I was wrong. It's before that. Because that's the summary. Oh no! Let's find out, where was it? Lair assaults 101.
Close.
So
101.
close.
I was pretty
Are you
close.
the real developer?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did you even write this book? 3 pages off. Pathetic. So there you go. Yeah, exactly. AT said you get a 4-up rally and you get a 4-up rally. Yeah, they got on this run where they like wrote 4-up rally into one book.
Right.
And then just suddenly everybody for a period of time was getting 4-up rally, and it was awful.
Yeah.
And then it just stopped because they realized it was terrible. But there was some period of time in between when they wrote the first one and then that one came out and got a terrible reception.
Oh,
right?
Right, but they had developed all this stuff beforehand.
Yeah, and in that window, they had been just writing it happily into more books. Like, yep, this is a great idea.
This is awesome.
Hi ho, it's off to work. We 4+ rally, and just like awful, just awful. Okay, so there you go. So that's kind of where we are. overall, there's some interesting stuff. So, like, one of the things we learned today is that summoning is gone. There's no more summoning.
Okay. I think that's really a challenging thing to balance.
I agree. I've kind of always hated summoning. I got why it was there because all the previous attempts to do it just don't really work, frankly, is what ends up happening.
Yeah.
Because you end up with more army. And instead, those armies will have recursion methods. So, for example, we're going to jump ahead here, everybody, because the Zinch article has a lot of interesting stuff in it. Let's go over here to, first of all, I love all the Zinch art. I mean, look at that dude.
I know.
Look at that dude. That guy's awesome. I don't even...
Great color scheme.
Absolutely. Like, that's great. Classic blue and orange, right?
Yeah, classic movie posters from the 2000s,
Absolutely.
2010s.
You get that dark blue, you get the sky blue, you get the magenta, you get the orange. Boom, 4 colors.
What do you need?
What more do you need?
You're set. Okay, so here in this cult of change thing, blah, blah, blah. Yep, there's a bunch of guys. Yep, they're fighting Nurgle, who they hate for reasons I don't understand. I've always hated the way the Chaos Gods are aligned, like in their enmity. So like Tzeentch and Nurgle don't get along, and Khorne and Slaanesh don't get along.
Okay.
And I've always thought that was dumb.
Why?
Because it doesn't make sense to me, like either thematically or aesthetically, why those are the opponents. Like, I get it. I've heard the justifications from when they made those decisions back in sort of the Realm of Chaos books. What their thinking was, I just think it's lunacy given how the modern armies have arisen. Like, because to me, they don't feel opposed by the sort of modern view of that thing. Like, Slaanesh is an army that likes to get into combat and fight in a very delicate, acrobatic, sort of almost ballet-like fashion, but it loves suffering and pain and killing and things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Khorne is somebody who generally would be viewed as like brute force war and battle and likes to get into battle and kill people.
Okay.
Right? They don't feel like they should be the great enemies.
Oh, right, yeah.
They're kind of two sides of the same coin.
Kinda
They
neighbors,
probably should
yeah.
respect each other.
This is what I'm saying. Just kind of different ways of fighting. Whereas it always felt like Khorne and Tzeentch made perfect sense to me as enemies. Khorne hates magic. Tzeentch loves magic.
Yeah, what the heck?
Khorne is very live in the moment, like be present, you know, like be exult in the thrill of battle and stuff like that. Whereas Tzeentch is very much like the present doesn't matter. It's all long-term planning and, you know, plans within plans within plans and, you know, that kind of thing.
And Nurgle is all about like life and prosperity, and I
Exactly.
feel like, yeah.
No, it's beauty in the buubos.
Yeah, the buubos. Dude, I just learned this word, buubos.
Buubos, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it boils and stuff?
Yeah, like a little particular type of like sore from the plague. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I played this game called Bristol where you have to, basically it's social manipulation. You have to get
Okay.
out of the village on a cart without the plague.
Sure.
And you do that by drawing cards that have numbers on them. And if the 2 cards ever add up to 7, then you have the plague for the rest of the game.
Oh, nice.
And the number 5 card is buubos.
There you go.
I did it. Sans buubos.
Yeah.
I'm the winner.
Yeah. But like
Yeah.
number 1's like cough, number 2 is like chills, and then you get to buubos.
Yeah, and like, whereas exactly, Slaanesh and Nurgle felt very opposite, right?
Yeah,
like one is
yeah.
beauty, one is horror,
Yeah.
one is like, you know, so like again, I just whatever.
This is like the 18th time you've described this, right?
I just whatever. They made a silly choice back in like the back in the late 80s, and I guess we just all have to live with that now.
And the great hardened rat sits above them all. So
Yeah,
So,
there you go.
like, here you go. Like, this is an interesting one. So, like, here you go. This is the ugly Chaos Spawn, but he has this effect called Waves of Mutation. And effect, each friendly Chaos Spawn of Tzeentch can be replaced any number of times. So, like, this particular not very good unit, traditionally, I don't know what its stats are now, but, like, Chaos Spawn, they have a replacement mechanic to put your Chaos Spawn back on the table. And normally you can't replace a replacement unit more than once.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Like, if you replace something, you can't do it again.
This thing dies, it comes back.
Correct.
How is that any different than summoning?
Well, because the thing, you're still, like, it's there, but you can now play around that. You can't +1 the unit.
Okay.
You see it, right? You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
if I have unit A and I have summoning, I can add unit B,
Yes.
right? Whereas if I know if unit A dies, you get a new unit A, I can just, I won't engage or kill unit A or something, right? I
Sure.
can play around that. And then you don't, I can play around your ability.
Right.
So I think that's where it
And
mostly
this is a
differs.
passive.
So this is a thing that's not in Spearhead. It's in the full game. Does every unit have a passive? Is this a faction thing?
No, so some units will have passive abilities.
Okay.
That are just like a thing that they have. Like let's look at a nice complicated war scroll because I don't know that you've really seen it. So let's look at Kairos Fate Weaver here. Okay.
All right, sorry, stream. I'm gonna get up close and
Get
personal.
up close. There you go. So you can see Kairos. You'll notice that the leadership is gone because there's no more bravery.
Yeah,
That's out of here.
that useless phase of the game.
Get that useless thing out of here. And instead now you've got your health, which is, so you got 16 health. Replace wounds, the word wounds. It's just health now. You got a 5-up save, 12-inch move, and 5 control score. So that's how much he counts for on a
Yeah,
gun.
that's a nice stat. I like that stat.
And you can see in combat, he's like nothing to write home about. He has kind of a bad staff, and he can kind of peck at you with his beaks, right? He's fine.
Okay.
So he has a passive ability called Battle Damage. Do you remember how monsters used to have a table that you would look at? And like as the monster got damaged, you'd have to move down a bunch of stats?
Yes.
That's gone.
Okay.
So now instead, you see how the Cursed Beaks has that little icon next to it? And that icon matches what it says under the passive ability?
Yep.
Okay. When he takes a certain amount of damage, his Cursed Beaks number of attacks goes from 5 to 3.
Okay.
That's it.
Does this scroll use any of the universal words anymore, or is this all bespoke stuff?
This is all bespoke stuff except down at the very bottom. So if you look down at the bottom, I'll scroll down just a little bit for you there. See where it says War Master, Unique, Hero, Monster, Wizard, 3, Fly, Ward, 5-up.
Yep.
That row is your generic rules keywords, okay, like the ones that have a game effect. So like War Master, if you're War Master, you're automatically a general. If you have, and then Hero and Monster can mean things, right, when certain things attack you. Wizard 3 means you can cast 3 spells around and unbind 3 spells around, right? Yes, Warpstone Enjoyer, that's what power level is. So like Wizard 3, that's your power level. Okay.
Does that add to your casting value?
No, it is just sadly, just a straight 2d6. Magic, still not my favorite part of the game.
Okay.
It is what it is. You still fail a lot of spells, such as life.
Such as life.
And then Fly means you can fly, and Ward is now Ward. It's become a keyword instead of something written in one of your abilities, right?
Okay.
So, it works like a word save, right? And you'll notice he's got like 3 passive abilities. So he's got Mastery of Magic. So when you make a casting roll for this unit, you can change the lowest d6 to match the highest d6.
Oh, that's fun.
Right? So he can be, so if you roll a 4 and a 2, 2 4s, he got an 8, right? Pretty cool. Now, notice that's only casting rolls, not unbinding rolls.
Mm-hmm.
So like and we've seen that quite a bit, that there are many people with bonuses or not even many, but there's a few people, first of all, casting bonuses in general seem quite rare. But those people who have them seem to have them really only to cast, unless you're a dedicated unbinder.
Like a dwarf kind of thing.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
And that's a thing that they focused on a lot in this. They've talked about it a lot, and we really have seen it in the scrolls, in that they've tried to really assign roles to all of the units. Okay? So like we saw the Stormcast Wizard. There was the base Stormcast Wizard, the sort of one that's like with the stick and she's like going like this or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that wizard hates manifestations, endless spells. Okay? They can't come near her. She has bonuses to banish them. Like, she's really strong at interacting with endless spells. So there's a clearly defined role for that figure in your army. When your opponent has endless spells, you wreck them. Okay? And this is important because every army gets your endless spells now all the time.
Okay.
Okay.
You don't pay for them.
You don't pay for them anymore. Okay. They're just a thing you get.
Well, you have to pay for them at the checkout counter.
That is correct. Yes. At your friendly local game store, who will hopefully be restocked on those things.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. They're just giving away those for free now?
Yeah, indeed.
Okay.
In the rules, yes. In the monies, no.
This is a pretty big thing, is having specific roles, as it was so common that there were so many things that kind of overlapped a similar role, and that just means you use the best of that thing, and all armies use the best of that thing. So there was 4 Stormcast heroes that did a similar kind of thing. One was just the best at it.
Right.
So being able to diversify, you have the toolbox. I think that was really exciting to hear, of really customizing which niches you wanted to fill within your army.
That's right. So you'll see units that are like clearly very anvilish and defensive. So for example, like we saw some of the Ard boys. And the Ardboy, like the Iron Jaws, what used to be Black Orcs, right? They're now called Ardboys.
Yep.
They are clearly meant to just like walk forward, stand, hold an objective, and receive a charge. Their special ability is like if someone charges them, boom, they like shield bash them and they get bonuses. Right? So you'll have weapon abilities. These guys, Kairos doesn't have any weapon abilities. If you see how both of those are blank over next to ability. See that?
No.
Okay.
What am I looking at?
Like
that column. Okay.
Yeah, that column. So like you'll see things that say like there's like 11 weapon abilities now. And that's stock standard. There's just 11 total in the game. They're sort of keyworded. Kairos doesn't happen to have any because he's not a combatant. But if you look at one of those, there'll be things that say like anti-charge +1 rend. So if someone charges you, you get +1 rend fighting them. Right.
Okay, so it's a circumstance and then a buff.
Correct.
Okay, interesting.
That's right. So, or you could, because you can have one that's like anti-charge +1 rend, or charge +1 damage, or +1 rend.
This is
or
nice.
Whatever.
It does seem like the game is being changed in a significant way. I will say that looking at that list, I thought we were kind of getting away from like bespoke rules and stuff. That guy is just chock full of them.
He's chock-a-block because it's Kairos Fate Week.
Right, exactly. I can accept that. But this squig herd here, what's going on here?
Okay, so let's take a look at the squig herd, kind of the opposite end of the spectrum, right? So here you'll notice they have their fang-filled gob, right? And you notice it's 3 attacks, 4s and 3s, 1/1, okay? And they have a control score of 1 and a save of 6 up and 1 health. So they're little guys.
Yeah.
You notice how it says companion?
Yes.
Okay, that's their special ability. That's a negative special ability.
Oh no.
Okay, companion, that goes usually on like horses and your mounts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Companion means you don't benefit from like any attack bonuses. So like if your boss has an ability that says pick a unit and give them +1 attack, right? You can imagine that. Like your hero has that ability.
Mm-hmm.
If he does that to this unit, the fang-filled gob does not get that bonus.
Okay.
Because companion abilities do not benefit from those bonuses.
Like your Blood Knight's hoof attacks don't get the benefit
Correct.
from
So the knights themselves will get it, but the pony kicks wouldn't, right?
Okay. That's a good way to like just have that rule baked into the game so that it's super clear about like who gets what.
Yes. In addition, notice they have the passive ability Beast. This is another thing that we've seen a little bit, where the unit has a maximum control score of 1. What that means is your control score
Can't increase it.
is the summary. Normally your control score is like, let's say you got 5 guys and they all have a control of 1.
Mm-hmm.
Then their control score is
5.
You got it. Very good. You did the math. See how easy that was? Okay. But like if you've got this Beast passive, which we've seen a few times, your maximum control score is 1.
Even when there's a ton of them?
Even there's a ton of them.
Oh, okay.
You're just bad at holding the point.
Okay.
Okay? Because you're just an animal.
Okay.
Right.
So this is a passive that is used by other races.
Correct.
So
like,
why not put it down here? It is down there. Why is it in both places?
Beast. Yeah, it's reprinted up there for for simplicity.
It's the Magic of the Gathering thing where they re-describe haste on every single card even though it's been out forever.
Correct.
Is that what it is? Okay, yeah. That's good. Okay.
Is it also kind of like Magic where they don't spell out every single keyword on every single scroll based on the amount of real estate available on the
Correct.
scroll?
They spell out the ones that are like the less known ones. So like when you have fly on a Magic card, it usually doesn't explain the whole text around flying because it's just like, it's so intuitive you get it. Right? It's the same here. They don't explain fly, but with Beast, they'll be like, yeah, okay, here, Beast.
Or like ward 5 up.
It's like connive versus fly. Right? Like, what did connive do again? Doing something?
Knows.
Okay. So then, and then you've got your other, so you can see everything else is color-coded, right? So you got Squigs on Wild. Each time a model in this unit is slain by a combat attack and that model was in combat with the attacking unit roll a die. On a 5-up, they take immortal damage after the fight ability is resolved. So if I come into you, I attack you, I kill 10 Squigs, you roll 10 dice, every 5-up's immortal damage back to me.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Because they bite you on the way out or something.
Right. Yeah.
And then you've got herding Squigs. Roll a dice for each Squig herder in this unit. For each 2-up, you can return D3 slain cave Squigs to this unit. For each one Squig herder in this unit is slain.
Oh no!
Right? So, but the unit, what I love about this unit as an example is it's very stock because it can't get buffs because of companion, right? And it's just going to be there. It's very easy to kill. It's a bunch of 1 wound guys on a 6-up.
Yeah.
Right? But it has a really decent attack power. 3 attacks on 4 3s, rend 1, damage 1. Perfectly good attack profile, like pretty nice. and
damage on the way out too.
And damage on the way out. Yeah, so it's like it can fill an interesting niche, but you'll see a lot of things that are like where a unit will be like meant to charge, meant to receive a charge. You know what I mean? Like they'll but you'll also see things like anti-infantry +1 rend. Okay? So like this unit is really good at killing infantry.
So
you
when
want to
you're
get into infantry.
fighting a keyword infantry unit, you get +1 rend.
Exactly.
It's, you know,
anti-cavalry, anti-hero, anti-monster, that kind of stuff.
when you described to me how like the Black Horde equivalent art boys are supposed to work in AoS, like what their identity as a unit is.
Yeah.
Like my first thought was like, okay, surely there are other factions that have a unit that has that same identity. Like I am the tanky thing. I'm meant to sit here and receive it, or take a charge.
Yes.
And still be alive at the end of it. Right?
Absolutely.
So, I don't know how do you make that unique? In a game like this, it has 28 factions and 15 to 30 units in each faction. How does everything have a unique role and feel unique to the faction at the same time? I don't envy the developers of this game having to, kind of figure that out. And certainly there isn't. Everything doesn't need to be unique, right?
Of course.
There needs to be enough uniqueness to feel like it has its own flair. Right?
Yeah, I think that's right. What we've seen so far, I brought up Lady Olander here because she's really interesting. Notice her things have crit auto wound. So this is another thing, right? So crit auto wound means if you roll a crit on the hit roll, which is just rolling a 6, right?
Yeah.
Then you bypass the wound roll. It's not mortal damage. They still get a save. You just don't have to make the wound roll.
What else would be in the parenthetical next to crit?
So you can have crit mortal. So that means it just goes straight to mortal damage instead and
That's the best
bypassing a
one,
save
right?
completely.
Yeah.
You can have crit 2 hits. So every 6 up becomes 2 hits.
Okay.
2 wound
Right.
rolls. Yeah.
So you get 2 wound rolls, right? So those kinds of things.
So then in the rule book, it'll be like, crit is a thing that happens when you roll 6 on it to hit, and in the parentheses, it tells you what to do.
Correct.
Is that what the rules would say?
That's
then?
exactly right.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
Trigger effect.
Wonderful.
That's right. And
Wow.
they're all very clear.
This game.
I really
It's a
like
real game.
Yeah, I really like this wording because it
Wow.
is just like trigger effect. It doesn't have a name like devastating blows.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, what the hell was that one?
Yeah.
Right? No, it's just like crit,
Slight little variation.
auto wound.
I love
Very
it.
clear.
I love it. Yeah.
Right?
It's good.
Lady O's, she's the ghost lady head of the Nighthaunt faction.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Super cool model, right?
Definitely.
It does feel like you were talking earlier about like the color pie and magic and feeling a unique home, and like that there's some sense of who the army is just on the war scroll. And I saw that in that last Squig herd.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
that feels like a faction. And going through all of these and stuff that you've read thus far, that maybe even been a little bit over the top. I don't mean that in a bad way, but I don't feel like everything needs to hit that level, because
Right.
that's really kind of thematic. Does it feel like there is a true feel for how this army plays on the table for who they are?
Very much so. And the way that they do that is by separating out exactly how the anvils work, or how the charging units work, or so on and so forth. Okay, let me give you a couple examples. So like we mentioned the Argoys, right?
Yeah.
So like they have anti-charge, so they do more rend or whatever, right? But then they also have this shield bash, right, where they get to roll a bunch of dice and do mortal wounds to you when you charge them.
Mm-hmm.
So like the orky version of an anvil is one that also hurts you really bad when you charge it, right?
Yeah.
Like they've got a good save and stuff like that. But then we also saw some Stormcast dudes where they were also clearly the anvil, and what they did was when you charge them, they have a way to make you strike last. So they what they're trying to do is get other people in on the fight to then clean up and damage you and weaken you, right? Or hit you themselves before you get a chance to then hit them.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So two very different kind of feelings there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, you look at something like Lady Olander, and obviously she's got you can see down there, so she's got War Master again, because she's the big unique named character. This is their Kairos Fate Weaver equivalent.
Right.
Generally in all these articles, they've been showing you the big special character and then some random putts, right? So you kind of get the full spread, right? And so you've got her visage and all of that, and her normal attacks. And then she herself has a model restore once per battle. That's another thing you'll see once per battle, your hero phase. So certain things can still be locked. You see how this ability right here
In yellow.
in yellow
Oh,
can be used once per
yeah.
battle.
Okay, yeah.
So there's that. She's got her passive ability where she subtracts 3 from the control scores of enemy units while they're within 12 inches of her.
Ooh.
So she's like suppressing everybody else's control score, which is really powerful. Like going down by 3 is a big shift.
It's a big difference between the dumb battle shock debuff that all the Nighthaunt had that just felt.
Correct. It just makes it very hard to take objectives around her.
Yeah, I think that's so cool because they've made that a stat for units now. It is now an element of design that they can affect. Things can increase it and decrease it. And because of that, things can feel more unique because they interact with that.
And it can go up or down in a linear way as opposed to an exponential way.
What do you mean?
Okay, what I mean by that is you've got a unit of 5,
yeah.
6, 7, 8, as opposed to, they used to be like in AoS 3, they would say like, you count as 2 models.
Right.
Because they had no score to work off of. Okay, that's exponential because 5 became 10, or that counts as 3 models.
Sure.
5 becomes 15,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
There's no step in between.
Right.
Whereas here it's linear. Because with her ability, what that effectively is going to mean is that it becomes very hard to take objectives near her with small elite units.
Yeah.
Right? Like a 5-man unit, her control score is only 2. Okay? So if she has an objective and a 5-man elite unit walks onto the objective, they don't take it from her because they suddenly just count as 2. Right?
Someone has an interesting question. Can a control score be negative, as in it gives your opponent objective?
Just take it.
I don't want it.
Yeah, you know what? It's all you. I believe we've seen that it bottoms at 1.
Okay, that's fair.
Like you always count as at least 1, I think is what the answer is. I think.
It's like an existential crisis. Am I here? Am I real?
Yeah.
I'm on this point, but I count 0 control.
Yes. I stand, but do I control? Do I contest? At any rate, so like the but however, so like a unit of 5, she can shut down this kind of elite units really easily. But like if 20 clan rats run up on the objective, they're still taking it.
Not gonna do much,
right?
Because each clan rat is 1. There are 20 of them, and this reduces the whole total.
By 3.
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
Right. So she can still be overwhelmed, but it lets you play in that different space.
You need a little bit of rock paper scissors. Right?
That's right. That's right. So it's just a lot of cool stuff like that. This, by the way, is her spell. You can always tell the spell because this is the casting value for the spell up in the corner. Okay. And so, like, her spell is pick a visible enemy unit within 18 inches of this unit to be the target, then make a casting roll of 2d6. Again, remember, everything is declare. You roll, your opponent makes reactions. In this case, the reaction would be they attempt to unbind. Right? That's a pretty standard.
Are there other
reaction.
reactions?
Oh, yeah.
Spellcasting? Like what?
Sure.
What's an example of one?
Okay, sure. So a couple of units have like make you reroll.
Okay.
Right? Like
force reroll.
Force rerolls.
Okay.
Right? Like no, you reroll, right? And then do it again.
Okay.
So whatever. And then if you're successful, so you assume you win, you assume their reaction doesn't stop you, then you go to the effect, right? And so the effect is ignore positive modifiers to hit rolls, wound rolls, and save rolls for the target for the rest of the turn. So she's hitting an enemy unit with that and turning off your ability to gain any bonus to hit, wound, or save, which is crazy. That is...
Both positive and negative.
Yeah, well, in this case, you can still get negatives.
Okay, good.
Because she's seeing an enemy. Yeah, she's just shutting off positives. So no all-out defense, none of that stuff, right?
Nice.
Yeah, it's great.
So in your playing of this game, have you felt like it is as lethal as the previous version of Age of Sigmar?
No.
Is it more lethal, less lethal?
Less.
Less. Okay. And do you like that change?
Yes, because it is... Here's what I'll say. It's actually really interesting. I'm glad you asked that question because this is something that I've been thinking about a lot, actually. Okay. It is equivalently lethal, which is to say highly lethal. Okay. Right? Because I think AoS 3.0 is like
you charge
a very lethal game.
Yeah.
If, and only if, you use the right unit with it has the correct roll on the thing it's meant to go fight.
You set it up correctly.
Correct.
Okay.
That's then the payoff for you being a proper tactician. Right. So if you have, like, let's just say you've got some cav and it's anti-infantry and it's like anti-infantry +1 rend and charge +1 damage. Okay? We can all imagine that being on cav or something, right? Okay. So if you maneuver that thing right and then hit their infantry unit with it, you're gonna and it's like assume it's not their hardest core anvil in the universe, like you're gonna wreck that thing.
Okay.
Right?
As well you should.
As well you should, because you have lined up the ideal fight for that unit. Now, flip that, reverse it, right? You take them, they get caught off the charge, and they're fighting not their favored thing. They're going to be pillow-fisted, and you could easily, like, they might charge you with their anvil, right? Just to, like, prevent you from getting that, to tie you up. And then it's very much not like that at all.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So the lethality ends up being, like, very much tied to you tactically using your pieces correctly in the role they were meant to be in.
Okay.
And that was a big problem, especially in, I mean, it was kind of exponential, but in 3rd edition was it was an arms race of who could have the most consistent damage output, either across the whole game or across your army.
Right.
And then everything was then measured against that, because there was not a bunch of variables in play. It was simply, it was very little effort, or it was next to no effort to have, you know, your witch elves go in there like a blender, and they simply were witch elves. And for the similar amount of points, your unit of 40 skeletons just could not compete.
Right.
And now it seems like they're taking it away from just universally. And I think that's great that it's like they seem like they pulled back the amount of rend and the amount of damage just kind of on scrolls. Too.
Correct. They very much said, like, rend is down, but so is save stacking, I should add.
Okay.
So, like, there's very much less save stacking. But instead, that kind of ability to bonus your saves has been, like, homed into a very few armies or a very few defensive units or something like that, where they're meant to be that. So, like, Stormcast still have multiple abilities to juice their saves because they're Stormcast. That's their whole thing. Like, their armor is supposed to be strong and impenetrable, and they hold the line as an elite thing. But when they get whacked by mortal damage, they just kind of melt, right? That's their enemy. That's their weakness, and so on, right? But if you're like Gits, theoretically, you just don't have that kind of save buffing anymore, right? Because you're a bunch of dorks in robes, right? So you asked for a reaction. Here you go. Here's Mirmorn Banshees. So, for example, here you can see how the reaction works. Opponent declared a spell ability. Right, and then the Mirmorn have a potential reaction they can use because they can make you, they can try to futz with your spell casting. Right?
And it's called Spell Eater.
Spell Eaters, yes.
That's a sick name. I love that. Also, here is a beautifully simple scroll.
Yes.
You know? There's not info about leaders, musicians, and whatnot, and their one special rule, and like a cast they have, and all these other things. It's just one little box.
Yep, just one box. This is the thing they do. You can see it's very straightforward.
8-inch move.
Yeah, ghosts are fast.
Yeah, nice.
Ghosts are fast. And, you know, like, you can see then, like, they have infantry fly, ward 6 up. Here you go.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Simple. By the way, if units do have a champion, musician, and standard bearer, those are just keywords now. And that's it.
So
And they have a standardized effect. It would say
down
at the
there,
bottom, and they would just have a standardized effect.
and it just means I can take these.
Yep. Your unit is assumed to have those components and get those bonuses.
And then the
And
champion.
everybody's champion
is
is
the
the same. Everybody's standard bearer is the same. Everybody's musician is the same.
Okay.
Yep.
Plus one
It's just-
attack, reroll, charges, something like that.
It's nothing that strong. It's like +1 attack.
That's what on the run, I think.
No, it's nothing like that. Like, I don't remember. It's a pretty. They're both minimal bonuses, but they're stock across all units. So
Would you ever not take them?
No.
Okay.
You don't need to. Like, you would never need to worry about it anymore. It's just like it's on the scroll, so it doesn't even matter anymore. It's just there. You just have it.
Does that mean
Because they also got rid of, I believe, we haven't really seen anything with it yet, and I think it's gone. Anything that lets like an opponent go, that model die. Okay.
Seen any Mega Gargant scrolls yet?
Yeah, like no, they haven't done Suns yet. They're doing Ogres, I think, tomorrow. But at any rate, the way damage allocation works is different.
Oh,
Yes.
Okay.
How does this work?
This is a big change. Huge quality of life improvement.
Okay.
Okay. So you played with Blood Knights.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
At any point in time, when you wounded your Blood Knights, okay, did you, or whatever, you know, you played OBR, so you would have had the same thing where you had multi-wound cav or something like that. Did you ever put your wound dice on a particular model and then realize, oops, I don't want to kill that model because I'm accidentally killing my champion or my standard bearer or my musician or something like that, right?
Or the guy that will get in on the charge.
Or
not
the guy that will, yeah.
won't.
Like, basically, once you got to needing to pull a dude, you realized you now suddenly have to pull the wrong guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's gone now.
Okay.
Okay? Because the wounds are just on the unit.
Okay. And when you get to a certain threshold, remove a
Pull a
model.
guy. You should remove a model
Okay.
at that point. and you just keep going until you've you suffered 8 wounds, and there are 3 wound models. You got 5 cav in the unit. You just that one, and then
Put down
2
the
onto
dice.
that.
So you have a D6 next to the unit. Once you hit 4, you take a night off.
Correct.
And like moving especially when you have a buttload of models and they're all around each other, which guy was the dice on, and like there's just a lot of things I've seen in 4.0 that are just like they're gonna shave 10 seconds of time off 15 times over the course of this game.
Right.
It's about shaving time and making things more streamlined, not simpler necessarily, but just streamlined.
Yeah. So, and that's right. Who said it? Yes, thank you, Devin. Yes. The musician is like 1 extra rally die when you roll to rally. And again, linear, not exponential. Like rally is way easier and simpler and weaker now. It's great. And a standard is +1 to your control score. So if you got 5 dudes with a control score of 1 and you have a banner, 6.
Nice. Okay.
So there you go. So yeah, there you go. The other cool thing about these articles, we'll just drop here real quick since we talked about it earlier. So there's our nice Swig herd. Who else did we have in here? Let me look at some other scrolls real quick. I don't care about Gobblepalooza. They're a bunch of weirdos, and I've always hated them. But there you go, Scragrot the Loon King, the obviously the leader of the goblins. He has a once per battle reaction. You declared the Bad Moon orbit ability. So like when you try to roll to move your Bad Moon, he can hold the moon in the sky and move it. You can choose whether the moon moves or not.
Okay.
Which is cool. It's a good ability because that's sort of how much of your army is getting bonuses at any point in time. He has a spell called Fangs of the Bad Moon, cast on a 7. Pick a visible enemy unit within 18 inches of this unit to be the target, then make a casting roll of 2d6, assuming it's not unbound or anything happens. You roll a number of dice equal to the unmodified casting roll for each 3+, inflict 1 mortal damage on the unit. So, pretty cool.
Oh.
And then he's got, then reaction, you declared the redeploy command for a friendly Moon Clan unit wholly within 12 of this unit. If you roll a 1 to 3, when determining the distance that unit moves, you can move 4 instead. And if you've ever rolled a redeploy and rolled that 1, like you're
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's painful.
And redeploy is just a lot easier now because of the new ability sequencing, right? So remember, redeploy used to be this weird thing where like I would move towards you, John, right?
Mhm.
And then I have to sit there and be like, "Did you want to redeploy?" And then you have to sit there and think about it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, and then I go, okay, move my next unit.
Okay.
Okay. And this was this game, right? It was annoying as all get out, right? Especially if you have somebody with a bit of analysis paralysis. Now, because of the sequencing on abilities, what happens is I just do my moves and measure them out, do them all. I have completed my movement phase abilities. Do you have any movement phase abilities you'd like to do? And one of those is redeploy. And you go, sure, I'd like to redeploy this unit. Roll.
Yeah.
Okay, I have completed my movement phase abilities. Excellent. Let's continue to shooting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right? And so there's just I do my abilities, you do your abilities.
There's no silly shell game of someone trying to one-up you on trying to put a red herring out there. I'm trying to get you to use the redeploy before I do the thing that I really want to do.
Like trying to trick you into using your redeploy early. Yeah.
And then everyone overanalyzes that, and you're just trying to think 3 steps ahead, and then everything takes longer. Even if you're not stuck with analysis paralysis, you're still thinking longer than you should have to when you have full information.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can see though with like Scragrot, he's a wizard too, so he's a double caster, right? He's got a good ward. He's a war master, that kind of stuff. But for like the named characters like this, where like he's important, Scragrot matters, but he's still not a very complicated scroll, right? Yeah. Like this is ostensibly the named leader of the Gitz faction. Mm-hmm. He's got like 3 abilities.
He's got 1 spell.
1 spell.
So he can cast 3 spells. Are there
2 spells?
2
He's
spells?
wizard 2.
Well, okay. So the other one we looked at before, Kairos. Did he have more?
He had wizard 3. That's right.
Did he have more spells on his scroll?
Nope, only 1.
So is there an expanded spell lore?
That's exactly right.
Okay, nice.
So here's how, and the spell lores are so much simpler now. Here's how it works.
Okay.
When you make your army, you pick a spell lore. If you have a wizard, if you have wizards capable of casting spells, okay, you pick a spell lore, and all the spell lores are just 3 spells. Okay, so whatever. Okay. And armies like Tzeentch have multiple spell lores.
Oh, so it's restricted. I can't pick the Lore of Fire as a vampire player.
Correct.
Okay.
You pick from whatever lores are available to you, right?
Okay.
In the index, in the initial launch, very few armies will have multiple spell lores. Most just have 1. Okay. Unless they're like the super magic army like Tzeentch or something like that, right? And you pick a lore that gives 3 spells, and then you pick a prayer lore if you have priests, and then you pick a manifestation lore, which gives you your endless spells or whatever. Okay? Now, the spell lore comes with like 3 spells. One of them will have the tag of unlimited. That means any number of your casters can attempt to cast it every turn. Okay, so but they can't. No one caster can cast it more than once. But if you've got like 3 casters, they can all try it once.
Okay.
Right. And in addition, when you know a lore, all of your casters know those spells.
Okay. There's
Period.
no rolling d6.
No more like figuring out who knows what spell,
Right.
whatever. It's just like your wizards have these spells.
Okay.
That's it. The only thing that's unique is whatever's on their scroll.
Okay.
So in this case, like Scragrot can cast 2 spells, he would have access to 4, assuming nothing else is going on.
Okay, cool. So they're bringing back the schools of magic and the individual spells inside of those schools, and there are, you said 6, or did you not say?
3, generally, there's 3 spells generally per
but
lore.
How many lores, though?
Generally each, well, within the index, every faction only has 1 to choose from. You just get your 1. It's not really a choice. You just choose to turn it, like you just have it.
Okay.
Now, what happens when the books come? Who knows? Like with Tzeentch, we know they have 2. So will things be different? Will they, will there be any other choices? We don't know. But for right now, it's just like you get your 1 lore.
Okay.
Yep.
There's always the fun part at the beginning of a game where we talk to each other. We be like, this is Bill the Necromancer, and he knows the spell Siphon Death. And then this is the other Vampire Lord, and he knows the spell blah, blah, blah. And your opponent is saying this stuff, and you just nod. And then you do the same to them, and then they just nod. And then neither of you retain that information about who knew what. So
exactly.
It didn't need to be said.
Nope, exactly. Yeah, my caster has this and this and this spell, and this caster has this and this and this spell, and I go,
Yeah.
Cool. Good stuff. All right,
great.
Excellent. August said, I want a rundown of all the wizards and Death Wizards. I'm not here for AoS. I'm here for the Death Wizards and Mordheim. Hey, man, I get it. Look, we're all here for Mordheim all the time. Forever. We were just literally at lunch talking about to Dan about he started like a Mordheim league or something, right? So yeah. I'll give you a quick rundown. Here you go, August. I'm here for you. There are 6 necromantic legacies in Death Wizards, the newest game from Uncle Adam and I, available now. DeathWizardsGame.com. You can pick up the book and the PDF for only $18. 6 necromantic legacies. Here you go. I'm going to do them off the top of my head. 1, the Dread Horde Master. It specializes in low rating undead, lots and lots of like skeletons, zombies, things like that. You get to have more undead than normal. 2, the Monster Master, kind of the inverse. It's an artiste of undead creation. Specializes in high rating undead, flesh golems, things like that. Yes. Fine creations, right? The Stitcher, who treats all of their undead like pets or maybe friends or stuff like that. Cares very much about their undead. The Stitcher heals heals their undead. It's very like attritive kind of playstyle because your undead can keep getting healed whenever your Necromancer activates. So takes good care of them. You have the Spirit Caller, which is all about spooky ghosts.
Spoopies.
Yes, the spoopies. So the Spirit Caller can only have spirits, spirit type undead, ghosts and banshees and specters and shadows and things like that. And can also summon more, which is very, 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 very powerful ability, but they're within certain very strict limitations. The War Reaper, which is all about getting up in the biz. Okay. So the War Reaper is the melee necromancer, like the one who's like, I don't stand back and cast spells. I will collect the parts, the bodies, the souls myself. Okay, like that's the Thanos play. Like, fine, I'll do it myself.
Nice.
Right? So they want to be up there with a scythe harvesting their enemies. And then lastly, the Controller, who in world is the one, the type that all the other necromancers hate. Okay? Because the Controllers are all about stealing and severing the control of other people's undead from them and taking them for their own. So they can do both short-term control, where they like momentarily make you hit your friend,
Okay.
right? Or they can do like long-term control, where they literally like sever the connection between you and your undead, and they get control of it permanently.
Oh, psych.
I feel like the Spirit Caller is the one for me.
You like the spoopy ghosts?
Yeah, I'm such a visual person too, and
Sure.
the art you have for the Spirit Caller is a bit of me. It's a bit of me.
It's really good. All of these, when I was putting this together, I had a sort of like template NPC for each of them, and it kind of flowed through to the art. So like the Stitcher was very much like this little happy dwarf who just like best friends with all his zombies. The Spirit Caller, when I did her, she had like her backstory was like she had it was like she was one of 7 sisters, and over her life through like the indignations of life and sort of the unfairness of things, all 6 of her sisters died. So she calls them all back, and that's her horde, or like her 6 sisters.
I'm ready to go.
I want to play now.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And then the controller, everybody just hated. Every story about the controller is just like him being like, and it's like, we hate you. You're awful. So there you go. That's Death Wizards. We've probably gone about enough time. I know you got to get going. You got to go take care of some pigs soon, right?
Yeah, pigs don't take care of themselves.
That's right. Okay, so I'll leave off with overall. I mean, some really cool stuff about all 3 of these armies. Did I get you a little more excited for AoS 4?
A little bit.
Okay. Yeah. Good. I mean, there's a lot here. It's certainly, I'll say, a change from the previous one. Like, a lot of core things are still there. Like, a move is still moving around the board, and fighting is still hit and wound and save and stuff.
You know, like stuff.
The core is all still there. But for one, I'm personally very, very, very excited about it. I've had a lot. So for me, it's just like something I'm really looking forward to. And then closing out on Death Wizards, like I said, don't forget, jokes aside, it is available now. I will put the link in the description, but you can just go to Death Wizards game. Adam and I are really excited about this one. If you liked Mordheim, or if you like sort of grim and dark and gritty kind of games and aesthetics and worlds, this will very much play to that. The chance to, with probably a lot of your existing forces, we just talked about Nighthaunt here in this, and like Lady O works perfect for the Spirit Caller. Like almost all of us have undead figs of some kind, right? Like when I was like, wait, do I need to put a crew together or a horde together for my battle report, and I was like, what am I talking about? I could do 50 of these, right? There's so many undead things like vampires and skeletons and everything, and we really wanted to focus on having a wide panoply of fun minions. Like I mentioned, banshees, flesh golems, mummies, vampires, death knights, shadows, wights, ghast, giant skeletons, giant zombies, ghosts.
There are vampires in the game?
There are vampires, yeah. Vampire spawn, that's the little weak ones. Okay.
Vampires are nasty.
And then there's full-on vampires who are raiding 4 undead, and they are very powerful. And there's a fun story where there's actually a really fun there's a very fun aside. I don't know if it ended up getting used, but I wrote a fun piece of narrative fiction where like one of the characters, one of the necromancers, has like a really uppity vampire who's just like constantly criticizing him. Okay. Because he's like very full of himself. Okay. But like in the end he's still under the necromancer's control, right?
Sure,
it's just it's just
he thinks he could have done it better at every step.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the other thing. We wanted to play fairly fast, and it was like somebody asked me, why can't my necromancer be a vampire? And I was like, what do you mean? Of course it can.
Sure. Right. Do you mean like from a modeling perspective?
Yeah, like from a modeling perspective.
Do whatever you want. Yeah.
And not only that, but in how you select the special abilities, you can very much, because like you have a ton of special abilities you'll get as you go through the game, and there's very much ways that you can craft these things to build your necromancer how you want, right? So like take the melee build of necromancer,
the War Reaper,
exactly, to like take the melee build, because like you get to choose your stat line, and one of them is much more melee oriented as well. So even if you're not a War Reaper, you can choose to go that way. So like if you're the vampire, just choose the melee stat line, right? And then choose the spells and special abilities that you would think would fit the vampire, and model it as a vampire, and there you go, you built a vampire, right? I wanted it to be like, I didn't want all the necromancers to just be weird, crotchety old dudes, just like hobbling around like, I'm evil, and I was just like, that is so boring and played out. Yeah. So I wanted it to be like, you could imagine any species. You could have your necromancer be, other types of undead themselves, a lich, a vampire, and anything like that. Sure, like go nuts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so I wanted to give through the special abilities and the stats and the way you choose it and build it, you get to make that decision. Like the necromancer is just the generic label. You're going to get to fill in the blanks there. So yeah. All right, gentlemen. Good times. I think this was good.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us on.
Of course, absolutely.
I'm excited for next VincyCon to do some Giselle sniping on Scott's heroes. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Get ready. Get ready. Chances are you won't be sniping the heroes because remember, heroes can't be targeted from outside of 12 inches. Now, the Warlock Engineer Sniper rat.
Yeah, he can hit anybody.
If he's around, he can scope them in. He's got that what was it? What's the cheater scope thing called? The something I don't know. I didn't play those shooting games.
Super Scope 6?
I don't know. Whatever. No, it's like
It's the Nerf gun
a
from the
Counter Strike thing where you just like auto headshot like no
Golden gun.
Oh, an op like that would one hit people.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Whatever. He's got that.
He's got
I don't
whatever
know.
that is.
I don't play those games. Yes, he's got the golden gun. There you go.
Okay.
That reference I get. Okay. But at any rate, but Giselles are cool. They're super cool. But at any rate, yes, exactly. Noob said the Necromancer LeChuck, and then Michael Wright said the Necromancer LeChimp. Yeah, make a little monkey Necromancer, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
I'm all for it. So lots of different options. Check out Death Wizards. Hope everybody's excited for AoS 4. Thank you, John. Thank you, Scott. Both of you really appreciate coming on the show. Thank you all so much for hanging out. I hope this was fun for all of you. Don't forget, check out those links down below. They'll all be posted right after the show. Obviously, I will also post John and Scott's channel. If for some reason, if by some miracle you're here and you haven't yet subscribed to them, stop making wrong choices in your life and go subscribe to people who make excellent content. Both of them are down there and make awesome videos. Don't forget, tomorrow, twitch.tv/Miniac.
Probably like 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. CST, somewhere in between there, we'll get a stream of Death Wizards going.
That's right. So come check us out on Twitch tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of fun. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Thank you all so much. Hit all those things that make all those dings. Click like, click subscribe, click all that stuff. Click buttons. It's fun. And don't forget, you'll get at least probably 10% cooler. All your friends will say so. But as always, I thank you so much for watching this one. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Cock.